11:30. Should we call this meeting to order?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. First thing on the agenda is approve the minutes from 11:12 and 11:25. Did everyone have a chance to look at them?
Yep.
I did.
Okay. Any changes that people can think of?
Nope.
One of them, and I did make a note, Catherine, I saw your name was spelt wrong on one of them.
Oh, and I didn't pick that up. Okay.
Lauren,
I didn't either.
I should have made the note. I forget which one.
Oh, it's spelled with a Y, isn't it? You're right. Oh, I
Oh,
went
that's
right
weird.
across that. Yes.
I'll go fix that.
And I'm
Yes.
usually
Now you say it, I
sensitive to
can picture it.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Any other changes or anything?
No.
Nope.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve?
I
Motion
make a
to
motion to
approve.
approve.
Okay, Brian, do I have a second?
Second.
That was Gina?
Me. Yep.
Okay. Any discussion?
Nope.
Okay. All those in favor?
I.
Aye.
Aye. I should call names just because this is remote. So, Gina,
Hi,
Brian,
Aye.
here.
Jeannie,
I.
and I am aye, so it's unanimous. Okay. Next thing on the agenda is planner's report. Hi, Mr. Planner. Do you have anything that's not on the rest of the agenda to report, or are we holding it off to the rest of the agenda?
No, I don't think there's anything. I mean, I copied everybody on my planner report sent to the planning board. There wasn't anything super specific to you guys that you aren't already aware of. I'll do. Oh, the only thing I'll mention just on the report, ZBA chair grabbed my ear yesterday. He wants to make some changes to the bylaws just with regard to pre-existing non-conforming. I think Kathy, as you know, we've gone back over the ADU bylaw with the help of CMRPC. They've suggested new language. So that's sort of tabled as of this point until the planning board wants to take that issue back up. But the zoning board chair was concerned about the ADU language because it's not ultra specific that it allows every ADU that's already in existence to qualify as the state's definition of ADU. So he wanted to clean that up and just make sure that anything in existence prior to this new law can still be in existence and doesn't require going to the zoning board in order to justify its existence, which makes sense. But I think the new bylaw that CMRPC did address that, but if it doesn't, we can go back and look at that as well if the planning board wants to do that. The other thing was with regard to just pre-existing non-conforming. This is less housing specific, but pre-existing non-conforming structures. Like if an addition or a deck goes into a setback of a building envelope, it's too close to a property line, usually requires to go to zoning board for an approval if you want to do anything to it. The zoning board chair doesn't want to see anything come to the zoning board if you're just rebuilding what's there, essentially. If it's already there and you're rebuilding what's there and staying within the footprint and all those other things, he feels, and I think justifiably so, that it's not something really that should warrant review by the zoning board. So those are the two things I literally just added on that. But other than that, yeah, everything else can wait.
Can I ask a stupid question as it pertains to the Affordable Housing Trust and the ADU law? Can the
Okay,
ADU
it's back
be affordable? I mean, can we make it into a deed restricted, property, even though it's attached to, and there's nothing that prohibits that?
So yeah, certainly not a stupid question at all. I'll have to look back on the regulations that the state pumped out for their ADUs, their ADU law, and make sure there's nothing in there that would prohibit your ability to do that. I don't remember that issue being tackled through those regulations, but I'll have to look back. I'm honestly not
Okay.
sure.
Okay. I mean, it's not like we want to do this, but theoretically, if we're deed restricting the Hartford Avenue property, we could always put an ADU there as well and have two deed restricted properties. If that, I mean, I don't think that space allows it. I don't think that's a good idea. So I don't want this to seem like encouraging that, but theoretically, that's something that we could do. Maybe.
I think so, yeah, maybe. Again, I'm gonna have to look back in the regulations, make sure there isn't anything prohibiting that. But if there's prohibiting it, then it certainly that's a possibility.
Might be worth like looking into just in general. Okay. Any other questions for the planner? Okay. Next on the agenda, treasurer's report. Brian, have you been able to do anything or are you still?
I have not been able to. It's
Okay.
still on my list.
Okay, that's fine and understandable. So, okay.
Thank you.
So, the next thing is updates on 610 action items. If folks recall, we, we figured that Lauren had enough time to, figure out everything about the town and to move forward with a number of things that we had talked about in the past. And, including the Concom transfer of land, town-owned parcel database, and looking at the mass housing partnership and possibly, I think we were talking about a grant to look at the possibility of affordable housing on Westboro Road. So who is going to be giving the updates on those? Is that going to be you, Lauren, or is that Mike?
I have a little bit I can talk about. I know that Mike's done a little work on Westboro Road, looking at what like an engineering review would look like. Sort of relating to that, I was looking at a mass housing partnership grant. Most of the grants that are existing explicitly say they won't do any real estate development or pre-application stuff like that. But one that would apply well is their mini boost grant, which is new this year. It opens in January. I emailed someone asking when it opens exactly. I haven't heard back yet. But it's rolling applications and they award like 15 grants throughout the year. This is for mini projects that can be done in 3 to 6 months that directly support a board or commission in relation to affordable housing. And some examples of projects are like prioritizing municipal parcels for affordable housing development, facilitating collaboration conversations between different boards like a ZBA, Board of Health, and Concom, and guidance on municipal jurisdiction based on zoning. So since the application is not out yet, I'm not super sure exactly what they're looking for. But I was thinking this could be something that we could get a little help on, relating to Zero Westboro Road, getting that ready for development, or also maybe navigating a relationship with conservation relating to the Pleasant Woods land. So this is really up to the Affordable Housing Trust for you guys to decide what you think we could use help on and what can be done in 3 to 6 months. So let's see what else I got. And then town-owned parcels database, that was another one of the action items. No real update on that since we did identify the Westboro Road property. There are a few others we could look at. That could be another mini boost grant project, is giving them a few town-owned parcels and letting them pick one that they think is suitable for development. So the decision making is really up to you all, but that's the information I've got so far.
So question, the first grant you talked about when you were going through the list of, and I'm not sure if you sent that, you sent a couple, Mike sent a couple things out yesterday. I don't know if this grant was one of them, but they were, I mean, it looked like it was like, sort of public information and administrative. It didn't look like there was anything like engineering or anything like that. It looked like it was more administrative, pre-development, soft costs. Okay.
Yes, I don't think that they can provide, it's less about technical assistance as it is with administration report, it appears. But the technical assistance grants that would really provide work that I don't think the board is capable of doing, doesn't really apply to the projects that it looks like we're interested in. if that makes sense. So I don't think that they can provide any engineering support, but they could do some work that the trust just doesn't have time for or hasn't been able to get going yet, like choosing a parcel of land to develop or picking which one is most suitable for development. But I don't know how much of that would include engineering report versus just like research.
Are there any grants out there for engineering? Because one of the things that, we had talked about was, and Mike, you sent out, was hiring an engineering company to come in and, do some investigations on potential parcels.
So there are grants that do that, and I believe that grant, so that would all be through the One Stop for Growth that
Yeah.
the state has, it opens up in May. And there's a variety of grant programs through that. So I can think off the top of my head, there's probably maybe one or two that would be available for that. And they might all be through Mass Development, I think. And then provide the ability to submit. So we might be in a good position to throw in an application.
Actually, someone has background noise going on here. I'm not sure who has,
I mean,
there's a woman's voice talking and there's been coughing and who is that?
It was Lauren. She's
That's
in
what?
It was Lauren, and she's in the office upstairs.
Oh,
Where
okay.
the sound travels.
Ah,
very
okay,
Loudly.
okay,
Um,
okay. Okay,
So yeah, short answer, yes, there are grants available. And I think that would lead into the conversations that I'm now having. So I sent out in some materials yesterday, basically a scope of services for some engineering work, based on some stuff, that a contract that I've entered into with an engineering firm to do some work over at the gravel lot across the street here. And so it's, some boilerplate language, some wetland flagging, that sort of stuff. And then taking that information, putting it onto a piece of paper, call it a plan. And with that information, we could go to the Conservation Commission, get what's called an ANRAD, an abbreviated Notice of Resource Area Delineation, I think it is. So basically, it's a plan that you submit to the Concom, and it shows where all the resource areas are and resource buffers, like to the wetlands. And then for that piece of property, you locked into those resource areas for 3 years for development purposes, so they can come back and file a plan when you're ready. And so we can do something with that information. But so I sent out some feelers on that, and I got a response from Beals Engineering Services, who I'm meeting with tomorrow afternoon to talk about any information that I don't want to overcommit them to what they've indicated to me already, but I'm going to get a better understanding of what they're offering sort of upfront. I get the understanding that they're going to sort of help us get some things together conceptually before actually contracting out engineering services. So they might be able to help us with like the Westboro property and just I want to say a surface level review of the conditions and the issues that exist in that property, wetlands, water resources, identifying known ledge, those sorts of conditions that might be obtainable through information that's already out there. And then trying to identify, hey, we know that these constraints exist. Can we do anything else on this? Is it feasible to get something on this property and get to that level of information before then contracting for full out engineering plans? So how that relates to the grant question that you're just asking is if I can leverage that information from them, hopefully that is what they're offering. Like I said, just had a brief correspondence with them. If that is what they're offering, we can leverage that information for a grant application. and put us in a much better position to be able to get engineering services from a grant in June. Be aware that we're relying on the schedule of the state when it comes to grants, right? So if I'm applying in May for a closing date of grant deadlines in June, they don't announce grants until November. We're really not entering into contracts until early spring 2027. So that's all well and good, but just be aware of those sorts of timelines.
I mean, and what we talked about before is to have an engineering firm come in and do more than one, correct? Like they would do Westboro Road, Pleasant Woods, and anything else that, maybe one or two more that can be identified, from the database.
I can certainly have that conversation with them and talk about multiple properties tomorrow. Yeah,
Okay.
I think that's,
Okay.
I wasn't thinking beyond Westboro Road, but that makes perfect sense.
Well, I think we had talked about it with Pleasant Woods too.
Right.
Okay. I just want to mishmash up agenda items for a minute because this pertains to the conversation we're having. Is that there was a meeting of the Concom, I think a month ago or so, where we talked about the possible transfer of the Pleasant Woods property to, it was a trade. It was a trade to, the town owns property, I think facing North Street, which is a frontage lot. And that is, with a lot of protected space. And, for the town to transfer that land to the Concom in return for the Concom, or not transferring it to Concom, but authorizing the transfer of Pleasant Woods to the Affordable Housing Trust to put up affordable housing. And I know my terminology is off here, but, the Concom seemed to be a little bit divided. There were issues raised about the suitability of Pleasant Woods for development because of the ledge and because of the wetlands. And they invited people in to, take a look at the property. But they also, one of the things that we talked about a little bit of having an engineering firm come in, because it's all fine and good for, us to tromp around in there and say, gee, this doesn't, but it doesn't mean anything because we're not engineers and we're not wetlands people and we're not, we don't have that expertise. So that's why that pertains to this conversation. And Mike was at that meeting as well. I think Lauren was as well. Mike, is there anything I'm missing with that conversation or?
No, and I can't even remember if I said anything at the meeting, but the what I remember too was the hesitancy on behalf of some of the members of the Concom seemed to be rooted in
David,
concern that they lose the entire parcel, right? And opinions about what that parcel has to offer as far as trails and resources. And I think I offered that the transfer of the conservation restriction or lifting of the conservation restriction of that site, we'd really only be interested in a portion of that site because I forget how many feet into that site, but only a third of that site that represents the front third of that property that is closest to Warren Street is of, in my opinion, any interest because the rest of it is steep slope. And be very difficult and very costly to develop, even if you were interested in doing it. So I think when you're looking at these things, we're looking for ease of development and not putting ourselves in a situation where it becomes very difficult and costly to develop something. And so I not negating anything that you've already said or about the intent of it, but just as a way to draw the line of, you can still keep the conservation restriction on that property most likely, or a portion of it, and even the portion I think that they are most interested in. And also get housing on that property. So I offered that as a way to sort of assuage their concerns about.
Yeah, and I think the
Mike, is-
feeling was that, you know, the area behind Coach Roads, which would actually be optimal because it's right in the center, is probably not developable because of ledge. And so I think in that conversation, we were looking to the a parcel, a portion of the land off of Warren Street, towards the, you know, beginning of Warren Street. And I do know one of the members was still not enthusiastic about that. And she was talking about, you know, the same issues, you know, particular, wetlands and stuff like that. So I think that, I mean, it's, you know, but the thing is, I do think that before we even continue, you know, but the long and short of it is, the takeaway from that meeting was that, we would look to have someone come in and take a look at it, engineering company, to see if it was even feasible to continue this discussion. Is that your recollection, Mike?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. So that's why with this conversation, it's like, yeah, Westboro Road is great. And if we have more than one parcel, that's wonderful. But Westboro Road is great, but, you know, we should still consider Pleasant Woods as well.
Yeah.
Like,
So-
is that land deed restricted for conservation?
It is correct.
Yes.
That's
But
why
can
there'd
we-
have to be a transfer of the deed restriction. So we would take the Concom would have to vote to transfer the deed to the town for the conservation restriction for Pleasant Woods, and the town owns North Street, so it would be a switch. They would give it to North Street, and so North Street would have the deed restriction, and Pleasant Woods would not.
Okay, so that can definitely be done, because I think for the housing, ours are permanent affordable housing restrictions. Like, for instance, 28 Hartford Ave North.
Yeah.
That'd be a permanent restriction,
That's correct.
but this one could be overridden or swapped in that sense.
No, yeah, yeah,
I believe it's still, it's a little bit more involved than just having the Concom sign off on it, is my understanding, but we'd have legal counsel assist us on this. There is a path forward, and that path is, I believe, we need a vote of the legislature in order to make it happen officially. I can't, you know,
but it starts with the Concom, correct?
Yeah, I can't imagine all our representatives and state senators in the state opposing a local initiative.
Right.
This,
housing.
but I don't know. But again, I've been assured it is a path forward, so we can certainly
Mhm.
consider it.
All right. Is this something that Lauren had told us about, a short-term project, and some of those scope of project or the work allowed was to be liaisons between boards and try to solve issues? Is this something that MHP might be able to help us with?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I feel like this would be a good example. Something that like we probably haven't navigated before in the town, or
Mm.
especially not the Affordable Housing Trust. And I'm sure that someone over there has a little more experience, and this could be a good use of their time. And they could establish like a framework for doing this in the future. Don't know how many more times it would happen, but that might be easier than doing it between the boards without like a moderator, I guess,
Hmm.
someone administering it.
It seems like it would be applicable.
Could you
It's definitely
possibly
something
share
that
the
I don't think
RFP?
anybody in town hall has any experience with. Sorry, Kathy. I was just saying, it definitely seems like something, like certainly I don't have an experience going through the legislature to remove conservation restrictions. I think MHP is probably well positioned to help us with that. If we wanted to hold off submitting anything and trying to capitalize on that idea.
I mean, I think it's a basic home rule petition where you know, the Concom, and it probably has to go through town meeting to issue it to, you know, there's steps. But
Mhm.
usually the legislature does approve home rule petitions. But Yeah, is it possible once that RFP is released on that, for that grant, that you can share that with us, Lauren? Because I'd sort of like to see what it covers. That would be really useful.
Yeah, I haven't
Hi,
been able to
David.
find much info at all on this
She
grant
says hi,
since it is
David.
so new, but I'll send that one to you.
David just said hi, everybody.
My techie. Couldn't do this without him. I hate to rush you guys, but I've got to leave in 10 minutes. So can we
Okay.
move on,
Okay,
please? Sorry.
so anything else on the two issues that we just discussed? I mean, the Mass Housing Partnership, we talked about briefly. Concom transfer of land, we talked about for a much longer time. And town-owned parcel database.
I'm unclear, Kelly, what is the action? Is there an action? to
No, these
move
are just
forward?
updates.
Okay. To keep us moving forward, do we need to direct or ask Mike and Lauren to do something on the, like, for instance, either the engineering and or both, the MHP grant?
Well, what I'll ask, I mean, I'll have a conversation with that representative that I'm talking with tomorrow about what they're offering up front. Obviously, before I would enter into any, I don't think I can enter into any contracts on your behalf if we want to spend any money. But obviously, I would bring that to you first anyway for review. I guess my action then is to just find out what they're offering up front in order to then provide to you at our next meeting to then consider next steps, and whether those next steps are telling them or finding somebody else to do actual engineering services on these two or other parcels. Or we get the information that we can from them at this time and then apply for a grant, then hopefully to get, in hopes of getting funding for those engineering services.
All right, and Lauren, you said the MHP grant that you explained to us, that was rolling application?
Yeah, rolling applications. They said it would open this year in January, but it hasn't yet. And then it just says 15 awards will be available in calendar year 2026. So I don't think there's a huge rush on this.
Yeah.
And since
And-
they've never done it before, they don't know how many applications they're going to be getting.
And Brian, I think an actionable that we discussed is that when the RFP comes out, she's going to share it with us so we can take a look at it and, maybe see if it's applicable to any of the issues we see might be.
And that's the RFP for the engineering services?
No, that's the RFP for,
Grant.
that Lauren's talking about. That's not for engineering services. That's primarily
for the-
for,
The grant?
The Mass Housing Partnership Assistance, right? That their first grant, was that what it was called?
Mini boost
It's-
grant.
Yeah, it's the mini boost grant. Not much info out on it. I just learned about it in a webinar. They don't have like anything else out yet.
just to sort of cut short this conversation, we can circle back to it if folks want to. There's two things. One that requires a vote, so I would like to, get that done before Jeannie gets off the phone. And the other is the AHT CPC grant agreement, which would require a vote if we decided to take it up at this meeting. I think we need to discuss it. Whether or not we're going to be doing it in time to get a vote would be is questionable. But is there a problem if we just jump ahead to annual report?
No,
Okay.
not at all.
Did everyone have a chance to look at the annual report?
Yes.
Okay. Did anyone have any comments or questions?
Brian does. Nope.
Do I hear a motion to approve the annual report for the Affordable Housing Trust for 2025?
Motion to approve the annual report for the Affordable
Second.
Housing Trust 2025.
Second? Okay. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, Jeannie,
Aye.
Brian,
Aye.
Gina,
Aye.
and Catherine is an aye. Okay. And the next thing on the agenda, and Jeannie, let me know, give me a 2-minute warning before you jump
Okay.
off.
Will do.
Has to do with the Mike circulated a HTCPC grant agreement. There was a question, both Brian and I sit on the CPC, and there was a question about releasing CPC funds even after they've been approved by town meeting. And what Mike did was he looked for boilerplates because apparently, I mean, it's a very long and complicated story, but basically the CPC approves all invoices they pay directly. We pay our own invoices. So there's a question of how does the CPC make sure it's being paid the right way? So there was a, well, I guess this is more than that, but this led to this conversation, but it's a grant agreement for the Affordable Housing Trust. And so I don't know what that just was, if that was me or one of you guys. But Mike, do you want to take it from here? Because I'm gobbling this up because I'm trying to talk too fast.
I mean, so I forwarded out, it was actually what Grafton sent me. I didn't realize they sent me just a CPA coalition boilerplate language as you were just discussing. But that's the language for these grant agreements that Grafton uses. And it's the recommended language from the CPA coalition for this exact purpose, for transferring CPA funds to the Affordable Housing Trust for the use by the Affordable Housing Trust. And previously, I sent around the 2015, 2017 grant agreements that I completely forgot even existed. And Brian jogged my memory when he started talking about the onerous nature of those grant agreements. And I remember having the discussion on them, and they were so, honestly, if you look at the difference between the languages of the documents, I mean, what you already have in place is, it almost doesn't even resemble what the recommended language is. And that's why it didn't even click with me that they're the same thing. They're very different documents. But yeah, this is, I mean, it's perfunctory in a way, to have this agreement between yourselves as the trust and the CPC. I mean, it really just helps, as I've learned, me as staff, to just push things along outside of your meeting schedules, because it prevents a situation where I have to coordinate the Affordable Housing Chair and the CPC chair for approving minor expenses, really, when it's pursuing something that you've already all agreed that it's something that you want to do. And the how this came up was I tried to get about $200 from your funds to spend on the closing costs for 28 Hartford Ave North. And that kind of turned into a bit of an issue because I was requesting funds of the Affordable Housing Trust that were sourced by the CPA, and the town accountant didn't know if there was approval by the CPC to yada, yada, yada. So it just kind of turned into a thing. And this grant agreement solves for that, essentially, in my view. It gives me something to point at that says these are funds that are being spent in pursuit of this grant agreement that will have the signatures of the trust, the select board, and the CPC on it, so that you can get done what you want to get done.
Does the town accountant agree, Mike, that this would solve for that?
Good question. I hope so. It's something that I'll be pointing to in the future. I mean, and I guess outside of that issue, this is the recommended way to proceed from the CPA coalition, but it's also what most other towns with an Affordable Housing Trust and CPC do.
Catherine, 2-minute warning.
just real quick, I mean, the first part of this question, because I have the 2-minute warning, is did folks have a chance to look over this? The second part of this is, I did look over it, but not in a forensic way. And I did have a couple questions, but I would be comfortable approving it, with the understanding that we could amend it, but then we can't if ever other people are signing on to it. Mike, is this something that's time? I mean, we do want to get it done. Is this something we can hold off till the next meeting?
Yeah, and I would just, the only thing I'd want from you today, if possible, is just if you are all in agreement in theory about proceeding this way in the future. And then if you are, great, we'll take it as it comes. And then for discussion next time, if you want to then sort of look retroactively enter into an agreement concerning the last transfer of funds and have this in place, we can do that. It's probably not entirely necessary, like I said, but we can.
Yep.
But nothing needs to happen today.
Okay. So, Jeannie, since we're not taking a vote, I'm going to
I'll
take
love
the
you and
super
leave
glue
you.
off your chair, and but I mean, do you have a problem in concept with pursuing this?
Not at
Okay.
all.
Okay.
No.
Go away before your
Bye,
husband comes back
everybody.
in the
Take care
picture.
of that baby.
Okay.
Safe travels. Bye,
Bye.
everybody. Happy New Year or something. Bye.
Bye.
Okay. So, so for the next meeting, can people look over, there were, again, there were a couple things that I just don't think I understood 100%. I didn't have a chance to really make my thinking face and focus on it. But the other thing is, could you, Mike, make sure that town council and and Kenny are okay with this? And that the
Absolutely.
CP and that, Mike Penko, the CPC, is okay with it? I mean, I guess that we'd all look at it, the CPC, the selectmen and us would all look at it at the same time, but it would be helpful if we had town council and Kenny's buy-in to say this would suffice.
Yeah, I should have mentioned, Kathy, and Brian, were both of you at the CPC? We discussed this at the CPC as well.
Yeah.
And I think they were all in agreement going forward with this type of document.
With the approach, but we hadn't seen the document at the CPC meeting.
Right.
So with the approach, we were, I mean,
Yes.
in agreement
Yeah.
with, but, so, okay.
There was an interesting question as to this grant agreement. Is it tailored just for the Affordable Housing Trust? Or is it, then the question came up that smaller projects, they have to get their vouchers approved by the CPC board anyway. So they felt that provides you, I think, the oversight and the comfort level. But then the big question was, what about the Minden-Upton Regional School District? Will they also be entering into a grant agreement? So just be aware of that, Mike, and I think that's a question from the CPC perspective, maybe not from here, but I also would be interested too, is that why would this trust be under a grant agreement versus other larger bodies that are given the money to be spent? Because that the town is not, sounds like Kenny's not on board yet with understanding that this is given to the Affordable Housing Trust. This is the Affordable Housing Trust funds to be used by the trust and administered by that.
Yeah.
No longer at that point and after the town meeting, under the review, they should be provided updates, absolutely. But the spending is under our authority. And that,
Yeah.
I just found that kind of background frustrating.
Yeah. And I
And
think,
maybe I'm a little
to
touchy because
Brian's
I'm on
point,
the Affordable Housing Trust.
yeah. And to
I agree.
Brian's point with the school district, I believe the CPC voted to handle debt service. But that's being given to the Minden-Upton Regional School District for the new projects that are going on there. So that would be, and that was something town meeting approved. And so I assume they would have to sign the same document. And I think that Brian and I had the same feeling. It's like, why are you picking on the Affordable Housing Trust?
I think it makes good sense, especially in the case of the school, to have something in writing to control for that spending.
Yep.
That's it's using this as an example, right? If to what you said, if the Affordable Housing Trust is if this is the expectation and the requirement on behalf of the Affordable Housing Trust, it would make sense to extend that to all similar entities. The smaller projects that the CPC, I guess, approves the expenditures individually for those.
Yeah.
I guess it makes sense for them to not have this sort of specific
Yeah.
grant contract laid out, but honestly, I mean, maybe it's worthwhile to just have that in draft form for all those individual projects as well.
Yep. Yep.
It's not
Another
that many,
question.
really.
Another question, Mike, that came up, I do, as a CPC member, I would say, yeah, this makes sense. And it is, as you said, the recommended course of action. So I think it's appropriate. Looking at it, and I'd like to look at it again, I thought the language is appropriate also. One challenge I see, though, is we want to, as earlier on when we first forming, talked about the like $800,000 $1 million that's in the fund, CPA fund for housing, is just to slowly start building like a fund in the Affordable Housing Trust under our authority to be able to spend that, so we're ready to act and don't have to wait for 6-month town meetings to come up. The language looked like it's more project oriented. So how do we handle, and I think that there is a solution, because I could imagine other, and I do know other affordable housing trusts do kind of also as a course of action, get an annual transfer from what is put into that 10% reserve over to the Affordable Housing Trust. What kind of language is being used for that? Because it's probably not, that's not project oriented.
Yeah, you know, Brian, I asked that exact question to planners across the state in my planners listserv email group that I'm attached to. And this was the response that I got. So that document that seems to be project oriented is the response to that question. So that document, I believe, is reworded slightly in order to accommodate for the general purposes of the trust.
All right, good. And then in that case there, then the project updates could be more like a, and I think this is a fair ask of from the CPC, for the Affordable Housing Trust to come in and say, hey, what have you been doing over the last 6 months with those general funds that have been given to you?
Yeah, that's how I interpret it, yeah.
Yep. Okay. So why don't we take a more thorough, if folks could look at it, Brian has obviously looked at it more carefully than I did. I just, my not really concerned, but the thing that flagged me and I didn't get into it deep enough was the difference if we're like handing a project over to Habitat and Habitat doesn't act as required. What does that mean because the third party is left out of this? It probably as it should be, but I need to look at it more. So do folks have a problem like looking over this and bringing it up at our next meeting?
No.
Okay. And so again, Mike, if you can make sure that Kenny and, the town, and the CP, everyone else is on board. And, if we could bring up the possibility of other, town entities that are getting similar chunks of CPC funds, which might be the town hall, which might be, we don't know.
Yeah.
If this can just be a model that's used so people don't think that we're the bad stepchild. And
Brian, did CPC and Kathy, did CPC remind me, did they want a follow-up with specific regard to the question of the school and those funds?
they didn't
I mean,
raise
I
it.
know that was brought up, but I don't remember like asking, hey, find out from council and from others if this is how we want to proceed. Okay.
I think it was a
No.
preliminary, I think we're just raising issues. And I don't think there was any resolution on any of them.
Yeah, sure.
But that's something that I think that they should consider. So maybe when you talk to Mike next time, you can, maybe bring that up at the next CPC meeting. But anyways, I have to get back to work, folks. Do we have anything else we have to discuss?
Quickly, I guess to Mike, is 28 Hartford Ave North, is the purchase and sale done?
No, I'm finalizing every day. I'm trying to finalize that. I just emailed Habitat before a meeting today. They had a question about scheduling funding, scheduling closing that I just forwarded to town council. And I just received their W-9 so I can get a check cut to them for $125,000 for the subsidy. That will, is what you have promised as a part of this. So I'm getting that information all put together today in order to get that check. And I'm hoping within the next couple of weeks, this will be settled. But I am, as I'd indicated before, taking thorough notes on this endeavor to help us along the way during your next project.
Is the cutting of that check going to be predicated on the approval from the CPC, like the couple $100 for closing costs? I don't see Kenny letting 125,000 going out if he didn't let 126 go out.
I'm sure I'll get a question on it. Fortunately, the town meeting article explicitly called out 28 Hartford Ave North for that $160,000 transfer.
Okay.
So I'm hoping that helps us along this time.
Okay. Well, let us know if there's any, because otherwise we may have to have an emergency meeting to, maybe a joint meeting with the CPC to approve this damn document so we can have the structure in place to cut the damn check.
Yeah,
So
I'll let you know if I run into any trouble, but as of right now, I'm hoping that because that was worded very explicitly and voted by town meeting, that I won't need. And I'll also include anybody I need to, Mike Panko, yourself on emails, if all Kenny needs is an okay or something like that. So.
Okay. Okay. Any other things, or do I hear a motion to adjourn? I mean, do we want to schedule another meeting, or do we just want to talk about having a meeting in a month or so?
Can we schedule a meeting in a month?
Okay. Is this time, date, work? I mean, time tend to work for people? Gina, is this, because you can call in, we don't have to meet in person. Is this better than meeting at town hall, or what do people
Oh, yeah.
prefer?
It's far more, it's easier. I'm at work, so I can hop on.
What do folks think, Brian?
I prefer the 5-ish, but I'm not, if Gina, if you can't make 5, then I can work.
Oh, yeah,
with-
my
Well-
schedule's not changed. My husband got a job at night, so I'm just like a single parent. I'm just so school hours. I'm
yeah.
at work from like 6 to 2.
Okay.
Oh, so what
But
works
Gina
best?
can always call in, whether it's
Yeah, I
5
can call in no matter
o'clock
where
or
I
whether
am.
it's,
Yeah.
you know,
Although at 5
11:30,
o'clock now,
so-
Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I can send you my schedule, but Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I leave to drive to gymnastics from 5 to 6.
so why don't we go Tuesdays? Tuesdays are good for you at 5, Gina?
Tuesday, it's hard for me at night because yeah, I don't know.
Just to call in? Oh. 'cause
I
you
can
still have
call in.
kids.
I'm not gonna be able to, then I have like at 6 o'clock, I have to drive the other one to swim on Tuesdays and Thursdays. It's very difficult
Those
for me. And then
days.
the rest of this month, listen, Harlem Wizards are coming. Harlem Wizards, you guys
Yeah,
on
I know, I've
Facebook,
seen your
check out my
posts.
post, okay? January 31st.
Yep.
That's where I'm at. Should I bring a post? Oh, can I bring a poster to town hall? Can I bring some posters? Does anybody care at town hall? Probably not. But all right.
We have a whole poster section when you enter.
All right, so I'll bring some
Beautiful.
posters over.
Why don't we do
Okay.
this if it works for people? If we're doing a meeting in a month, I don't think there's going to be much to talk about. Unless, Mike, you think that you're going to be able to, the grant should be available.
update you,
That would be
Kathy.
Lauren. What?
I should be able to update you after my conversation tomorrow afternoon with the engineer.
Okay.
So we have a better sense of that. But yeah, other than that, I don't know. I'm gone the week of February 16th through the 20th. So that's the third week in February. Just FYI.
Lauren, when do you think, I don't know, we could do a quick phone meeting just to give updates on stuff in a month, but it doesn't seem we're gonna have enough to talk about to do an in-person meeting.
Yeah, I think it might also depend on when we get info on the grant.
Yeah.
Like if we want to decide on exactly what to request for that.
Okay.
it'll probably just depend on the info they give.
Why don't we tentatively set for next month, if folks are cool with this, for quick updates, a phone meeting at 11:30 on a Tuesday. And because that seems to be good for people. And if Mike is not available on the 16th, maybe we can do the 24th of February at 11:30. And then if there's a lot of stuff to talk about, we can always cancel that and schedule an in-person meeting. Does that work well for people?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so that'd be the Tuesday, the 24th at 11:30, Affordable Housing Trust. Okay. Okay. And that said, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Okay, second.
I'll second that.
Okay, Brian,
Aye.
Gina, and me,
Aye.
I. Okay, cool. Okay, thank you, folks.